The American financial system operates on a set of rules designed to keep the middle class exactly where they are, trapped, dependent, and broke. They tell you that to get the absolute best mortgage rates in the country, the legendary 2.5%, zero money down loans, you have to join the United States military. You have to put your life on the line, serve your country, and earn the right to access the VA loan program. And they are absolutely right. The Department of Veterans Affairs created this program as a benefit for the men and women who serve. It is the single most powerful residential loan product on the planet. No down payment, no private mortgage insurance, rock bottom interest rates. But what if I told you that the banks are hiding a massive, federally protected loophole? What if I told you that you could legally acquire one of these mythical 2.5% VA loans, take ownership of the property, and ride that hyper-low interest rate for the next 28 years, even if you have never spent a single day in a military uniform? Today, I'm going to expose the veteran loophole. I'm going to show you how to execute a VA loan assumption, bypass the 7% retail mortgage market entirely, and secure a cash-flowing asset using the government's own rulebook. This is Property Path. Stop saluting the banks. It is time to execute the mission. To understand why this strategy is printing millionaires right now, you have to understand the unique pain of the American military family in today's economy. Between the years 2020 and 2022, hundreds of thousands of active duty military members and veterans bought homes. Because they had access to the VA loan, they secured interest rates of 2.25, 2.5, and 2.75%. But the military does not let you stay in one place. Every 3 to 4 years, an active duty service member gets a PC's a permanent change of station. The Department of Defense hands them orders and says, you are moving from Fort Bragg in North Carolina to Fort Cavazos in Texas, and you have 60 days to report. These families are forced to move. They have to sell their house. But when they list their beautiful $400,000 home on the market today, the civilian buyers cannot afford it. The civilian buyer has to go to Wells Fargo or Chase Bank and get a 7% interest rate. The monthly payment is too high, so the house sits on the market. The military family is bleeding cash, paying a mortgage on an empty house in North Carolina while trying to rent an apartment in Texas. They are desperate, and desperation creates the ultimate vacuum for a transaction engineer. You find this listing. You realize this veteran has a $400,000 mortgage at 2.5%. You do not go to the bank and ask for a new loan to buy the house. You approach the seller and you say, I'm going to assume your VA loan. Let me be perfectly clear, under federal law, VA loans are assumable by anyone. You do not need to be a veteran. You do not need a military ID. You simply need to be a qualified buyer with a decent credit score and enough income to cover the monthly payment. If you meet the service's basic financial criteria, the bank is legally required to take the veteran's name off the debt, put your name on the debt, and leave the original 2.5% interest rate completely untouched. Let us run the undisputed math on why this is the ultimate cash flow hack. Let's assume the veteran owes $380,000 on their mortgage. At 2.5%, their principal and interest payment is exactly $1,501 a month. If you bought that exact same house today with a new traditional loan at 7%, your principal and interest payment on $380,000 would be $2,528 a month. By assuming the VA loan, you are saving $1,027 every single month. That is over $12,000 a year in pure, unadulterated cash flow that goes directly into your pocket instead of the bank's vault. But the cash flow is only half the secret. The real wealth is hidden in the amortization schedule. When you get a brand new 30-year mortgage, for the first 5 to 7 years, almost your entire monthly payment goes toward interest. You are paying the bank's profit, not paying down the actual debt. When you assume a VA loan that the veteran has already been paying for years, you are stepping into a mature amortization schedule. A massive portion of your $1,500 payment is going directly toward the principal. You are building equity at warp speed. You are literally getting rich in your sleep. You get the deed, you get the cash flow, you get the aggressive principal paydown, and you get the 2.5% rate. But if it is this easy, why isn't everyone doing it? Because everyone is terrified of the trap that stops 99% of amateur investors dead in their tracks. This is the deal killer. It is called the Veteran's Entitlement. When a veteran uses a VA loan, the Department of Veterans Affairs guarantees a portion of that loan to the bank. That guarantee is called their entitlement. Every veteran only has a specific, limited amount of entitlement available to them. Here is the brutal catch: if another veteran assumes the loan, they can substitute their own entitlement, freeing up the seller. But if you, a civilian, assume the VA loan, the original veteran's entitlement remains locked to that property until you completely pay off the loan or sell the house. If their entitlement is locked up, that veteran might not be able to use a VA loan to buy their next house in Texas. When the amateur investor calls a veteran and says, "Hey, I want to assume your loan, but you are going to lose your VA entitlement for the next 26 years, the veteran curses them out and hangs up the phone. The amateur gives up and says the strategy doesn't work. The transaction engineer knows exactly how to overcome this. You do not pitch this to every single veteran. You snipe your targets. Who do you target? Target number 1, the retiring veteran. The guy or girl who has done their 20 years, is retiring from the military and is moving into an RV to travel the country, or moving into a house they inherited that is already paid off. They do not plan on buying another house with a VA loan anytime soon. Their entitlement is useless to them right now. Target number 2, the cash-heavy pivot. This veteran needs to sell immediately because they are drowning in double mortgage payments. You tell them, yes, your entitlement will be tied up, but to compensate you for that inconvenience, I'm going to pay you a $20,000 premium in cash at the closing table. Because they are desperate to stop the bleeding, they accept the cash, forfeit their immediate entitlement, and you walk away with an asset that will generate hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity and cash flow over its lifetime. Paying $20,000 to secure a 2.5% rate for 26 years is the cheapest money you will ever buy. Target number 3, the gap strategy. A VA loan assumption is not a 100% financing hack for you. You are assuming the remaining balance of the loan. If the house is worth $400,000, but the veteran only owes $350,000, there is a $50,000 gap in equity. When you assume the loan, you must bring that $50,000 to the closing table to make the seller whole. The amateur says, "I don't have $50,000," and walks away. The transaction engineer says, "I don't have $50,000, but my hard money lender does. My private money partner does." You bring in a private partner, offer them an 8% return on their $50,000, and you use their money to cover the gap. You still get the house, you still get the 2.5% primary mortgage, and you did it with other people's money. Or, if the seller is truly desperate, you execute a second lien seller finance. You tell the seller, "I will assume your loan, and for your $50,000 in equity, I will sign a promissory note to pay you $500 a month for the next 10 years. The seller becomes the bank for their own equity, and you close the deal with $0 out of pocket. Do you see the difference between the masses and the elite? The masses see a locked entitlement or an equity gap, and they surrender. The elite see a puzzle and they engineer a solution. The inventory for these deals is massive. There are specific MLS keywords that lazy real estate agents type into their public listings every single day without realizing the goldmine they are giving away. Assumable, VA assumption, PCSIing, motivated seller. You can go on Zillow right now, type Assumable into the keyword search filter in any major military town: San Diego, California; Colorado Springs, Colorado; Clarksville, Tennessee; Virginia Beach, Virginia, and you will find hundreds of listings begging to be taken over. The banks do not want you to know this. The banks make their money by originating new loans at 7% and charging massive closing costs. When you assume a loan, the bank only gets a tiny processing fee, usually capped by the government at around $300. They will drag their feet. They will make the paperwork difficult. They will test your patience. Let them. You are going to fight through the bureaucracy because on the other side of that paperwork is a cash-flowing asset with a fixed debt cost that practically belongs in a museum. You are weaponizing the government's own benefits to shield yourself from inflation. As rents go up year after year, your $1,500 mortgage payment will never change. Your profit margins will expand exponentially. Stop complaining that you missed out on the low rates of 2021. The rates are still out there, hiding in plain sight, attached to the names of people who desperately need you to take them off their hands. I want you to open up a real estate app right now. Pick a city with a massive military base. Filter the keyword Assumable. Call the listing agent. Ask them what the underlying interest rate is, and ask them if the seller has the flexibility to leave their entitlement behind. Stop fighting the retail market. Start playing the institutional game. I will see you at the closing table.